Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mainly Animals on LRTV. I'm your host, Bobby Silcott, and today we are going to be talking all about veterans and service dogs. And my first guest today is Tracy Shaw. Tracy, welcome.
Good morning, Bobby. Thank you so much for having us,
Yeah.
and it is a pleasure to be here with you.
Before we get started though, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? How'd you get wrapped up in this program?
Sure. Well, I've been with with Maine Paws for Veterans. We're formerly known as Embrace a Vet, so you'll hear me use Embrace a Vet every now and again.
Yeah.
We're still getting used to that name change as we went through a rebranding process earlier this year. And my background, I had the opportunity to work with the Military Working Dog Program down at Lackland Air Force Base for a few years down there. I also have been a business owner in Southern Maine with Diamond Dream Dog Center with training and daycare, boarding, grooming, and all of that. And I have a former experience over with the SPCA of Hancock County as their executive director. So, this goes back to the 1990s that I've been in dogs for 30 years now.
In Maine?
Right here in Maine, with the exception of being down in San Antonio.
Down Lackland.
Yeah,
that was extraordinary. I was reading your bio on the website. Pretty impressive. The organization's lucky to have you, your years of experience.
Thank you.
And what you do. How about Joy Johnson? Could you tell
Joy
us?
Johnson,
Tell us about her, would you?
She was an amazing individual. She founded Embrace a Vet back in 2012, and her passion for assisting veterans and reducing the numbers for suicide. That was definitely her goal, and I would say she reached that. Joy passed away in 2016. And we, work very hard at continuing her legacy forward and carrying that. It started with, Embrace a Vet actually started with retreats. And from that, then the service dog component took off in about 2014, and then they were actively, working with contracted trainers at that time, and then we decided, come 2017, we decided that we would work in-house and bring everything in-house, and we would train our participants, alumni, to work with the dogs and train them. So now everything's done in-house, and, we have a fantastic program, and we, it is a psychiatric service dog. So, understanding the differences and, the term service dog is a very broad term. Right. So that we are working specifically for psychiatric versus physical disabilities.
Right. If you don't mind, could you share the meaning behind hummingbirds?
Oh, goodness, sure. As far as the hummingbirds, now one of Joy Johnson's dear friends, Dean Patterson. Dean is a former board member with Maine Paws for Veterans and just a wonderful individual. It sounds like, what I understand is that the hummingbird was basically, developed because of Joy. That was her animal that, they...
A mascot, so
to speak. That they created for her and how they remembered her. So one of the caregiver groups that we had back then, they referred to them as the Hummingbirds group. And I will share this little piece when we were at a retreat, and this happened, during my time. So unfortunately, Bobby, I never had that opportunity to meet Joy in person. Oh. But here I am in those shoes, as their executive director, and what a privilege it is. So we were at a retreat, and this was one that we put on, and we were doing that up at Camp Kiev with a whole group up there with our veterans and their spouses, and we were having this meeting, and then all of a sudden something caught our eye off to the side, and we looked at the screened-in porch, and you could see this little hummingbird just floating around over there. And here was this hummingbird, but it was stuck. And so one of our wonderful volunteers by the name of Roy Driver, he went out there, and here he was discreetly trying to to save this little hummingbird.
Right.
So he was standing on chairs and picnic tables and things like that that were out there on that screened porch. And then all of a sudden we all caught his eye as he was trying to capture this darling little hummingbird, as we all knew that this could be Joy's spirit watching, you know. So it was just a wonderful moment that, you know, we all kind of sit there and say, she's here, you know, and she's part of this. And in our next newsletter, actually, we'll be doing a wonderful piece and dedicating that to Joy. So please look forward to that, you
That's
know,
great.
as time goes on.
Hummingbirds. It's a great story. That
yeah.
must have been interesting for the group.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bet it was.
It is, definitely.
So another thing, you know, and I was telling you, compliments to whoever maintains your website. Very easy to navigate.
Thank you. That is David Gillis. Gillis Design, you know, putting a little plug out there for David.
Yeah.
He's done a fantastic job on the website. And, you know, and we had a team of volunteers, again, that assisted with that transformation over to that brand new rebranding and website and our logo and everything. And he's just been a peach to work with.
Right, and that web address is, what's the site?
The web address is mainepauseforveterans.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the site was great though. And another thing, you know, as I was navigating it, really easy to do, and it's pretty powerful. You know,
Thank you.
It's just quite amazing, really, when you start digging into it. And some I did, you know, it looks like you got a pretty impressive board. You got some volunteer veterans.
We do.
You want to talk a little bit about both of those groups?
Yeah, I mean, our board is fabulous. They're talented. They come in with a diverse background, and they're able to commit. I mean, so many of them are retired, and they commit the time.
Retired veterans?
Some of them are retired veterans, and some of them are not veterans. You know, but they are just dedicated, and boy, they put some hours in, and they are absolutely a pleasure to work with. I'm very fortunate to have such a fantastic board and committed volunteers. You know, we're a small group, you know, so we only have 2 staff members, and the rest are volunteers. So we're pulling this off with a primarily volunteer-based organization. You know, so when you think of that and the manpower hours that are put into that, you know, we're logging those hours every month and doing updates, you know, so it's not unheard of to have over 400 hours of volunteer hours a month, you know, that they're putting in and dedicated to the cause and making a difference for veterans in our group.
And I think I've been fortunate enough to be involved with some extraordinary organizations and nonprofits and volunteers. I mean, that's the backbone of it all. Without the volunteers.
You are correct, Bobby. It's one of those things when you have volunteers, and again, that are willing to commit their time and talents, they are worth their weight in gold. We are extremely fortunate to have the team that we have, and always looking for new volunteers. So we do, speaking of our website, we do have a volunteer application page, and if anybody is interested, they can see the different volunteer opportunities that we have available, and they could fill out an application if they wanted to.
Right. And another thing I noticed there, for me, maybe some folks out there watching, when you think of a service dog, you think of black lab, yellow lab.
Sure.
You know, the normal, you know,
the normal retriever breed.
Yeah, it's kind of that mindset that we've, you know, just what we've seen. Well, that's not even close to what you guys are doing. I was so impressed. Tell us about the...
So we have a variety of dogs that we use. And, you know, I mean, number one, whether you're working a dog for physical disabilities or mental disabilities, you want to make sure that that dog has trainability. Trainability is key.
Right.
The other things that we are very mindful of is size, coat care. We don't want to put any undue financial burdens onto a veteran, you know, so we want to make sure that, okay, they can buy a reasonable amount of dog food and not have to buy twice as much to keep up with a giant breed dog. We also have to think about transportability. Can the dog get into a restaurant and scoot underneath the table, you know, and be discreet versus this great big dog laying way out there. We have had dogs donated to us in the past that are a little bit larger than normal, so we have to make sure that we have a veteran that we can pair that dog with. Or in some cases, we have a veteran that may request a smaller dog. Maybe they live in an apartment. Or they're in senior housing, some of our Vietnam veterans, you know. So, you know, we have to make sure that we have a dog that meets their needs and has the trainability. So
right,
things
and
are
the
really
tasks
important.
are different
The tasks
from
are
a typical
different.
service
Yeah.
dog, right?
So when we think of a service dog, our mind really automatically goes to physical disabilities. A dog that's going to, do the light switches and pull the drawers or push on a door and assist somebody physically. Or we even think our minds go to the seeing eye or the guiding dog. Okay. So in our case, it's more of psychiatric work. So when somebody has a mental disability, and we work with veterans with PTSD, okay, so that's the bottom line is they do have to have a service-connected diagnosis of PTS. And from that, we're working with that dog to offer different types of techniques they're trained for. One would be a deep pressure exercise. It's always nice for grounding techniques. So when somebody's going through a lot of anxious behaviors, the dogs are trained. They can kind of, if it's a small dog, they could jump on their lap and then be like a weighted blanket. Or if it's a larger dog, we'll say lab-sized dog that, 50 to 60 pound dog, that they can drape their body over the lap of the veteran and again apply that deep pressure. The veteran can then be taught how to pet the dog in a soothing way. I mean, I know that sounds kind of funny, we all know how to pet a dog, right? But petting a dog in a way that's going to calm your nerves versus petting a dog in a way that's going to stress yourself, and teaching the dog to stay in that position. As dog owners, we've had our dog, they can do a down stay, things like that, but teach them how to stay in your lap for, a good 10, 15 minutes. That's a different type of exercise. The other thing that we do with our dogs is we teach them when we're in a public setting or an environment that they can be a placeholder. So between the veteran and the stranger, the veteran may feel uncomfortable with how close that individual may be to them. So the dog can be that placeholder and be in front or behind or to the side. Sometimes we think of when we're working a dog, we have to have it in that heel position right there to your left, and that's kind of what you see going forward. However, we can encourage that dog and teach them and then teach the veteran how to get the dog in front of them if they're waiting in line at the checkout line. Think of those areas. Or if they're at the bank and they're not quite at the teller station yet, they have somebody behind them. They want the dog to be in behind them. They don't want them to be in a heel position. So that's always a nice benefit as well. So it gives them that safe boundary. They don't want people crawling up behind them.
Kind of a mental force field, maybe?
Yeah,
It gives them
right, it's a safety measure that's in place. And, they really come to us with a variety of things going on in their world. That PTSD, some may feel untrusting, some may not feel comfortable in a public environment, and it's our goal to create a community for them that they feel comfortable, they feel welcomed, they feel loved, and supported in any way that we can give them.
And that service dog is that's the rock. That's
well,
the
it
part
really
that really
is. The dog
brings
is.
it together,
Our program is very unique because we don't supply people with a service dog that's all trained. So what they do is they come to us, and that dog goes through that training journey with them, and that's what makes our program very special and unique. They go through that training journey. It's not easy, but that means they have to come out of their comfort zone.
Right.
They have to work as a team.
Right.
Cheer each other on, feel that again, and go through instruction. I'm sure they get tired of me nagging them because not only am I the executive director, but I also double as their instructor. Okay, so my team helps them, but I'm right there nagging them every day, every week to get their 5,000 steps in daily and make sure they do their training logs. And
Chief encourager. How's that?
I like that. I like that. We'll go with that. and they keep their training logs, and they ask a lot of questions, and they're motivated. So there's this transition that happens within them. We see them come in and kind of sitting and not making any eye contact and not really being crazy about being there. And then all of a sudden, things get a little bit lighter, and there's some newfound energy. And it also means that they're getting out every day physically with those dogs. We know the tie between physical well-being and mental well-being. So we get out, We make them work a little bit. We're in the fresh air. We laugh a lot. We enjoy them. And heck, we can be silly. It's dogs. They forgive us. And it doesn't matter if you got your makeup on or not, or if you're dressed right. It doesn't matter. You just have a good time with that dog.
Which is probably a big part of some of these folks' lives.
It is.
Yeah, that's the daily thing that they deal with that we don't see.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that dog causes a diversion for them if they were feeling really uncomfortable about being out in public, and now they have this dog that takes away that, because they're not focused on all those issues. They're focused on, oh, Tracy said, get the dog to sit, and Terry and Roy told me to do this, and Sabrina, Sabrina's helping us out too, and so that's one of those things that in their mind, they're reviewing all of their training exercises. So they work on the sit or the down, and now I got to write this down in my journal. They don't have the time to overthink all the negative thoughts way over here anymore.
Right.
Which is just fabulous.
Yeah, I could see the benefits of that. I mean, it just makes so much sense. So what's the, say, from beginning to end, roughly, what's the length of time from start to exception? Certification?
Certification, yeah. So we go through different phases, and it's anywhere from 5 to 6 months, we tell them. So what happens is, what happens is that they start. The process is the mental health interviews, we do a background check, we do the home visits, there's all of those things that must take place. Of course, with COVID, we weren't doing an in-person home visit, but we would ask them to send in either a video or some images so that we could do do an evaluation that way on the home environment, especially for the veterans that we are placing a dog with, because not every veteran has their own dog to bring to class. So we evaluate every dog that comes through. And in some cases, we're adopting dogs out through the local shelters, whether it's the Animal Refuge League or the Animal Welfare Society or even Mid-Coast Humane.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. Pope Humane Society was another one we used recently.
Yeah, so you're based in Topsom. I don't think we've mentioned that.
And actually, Brunswick. Brunswick, yes. So we have our location is at 675 Old Portland Road.
Yeah.
We have a new location. Again, this kind of wraps into our rebranding. Okay, so we were out of the Topsom area before, and so our mailing address is still Topsom. However, we're physically located on 675 Old Portland Road. And we have wonderful neighbors. One of our neighbors is the Adaptive Outdoor Education Center, and they've just redone this building, and so we slid in there as a tenant, and so we're pretty fortunate to have some great neighbors and other nonprofits that surround us.
Right. So your home base is in Brunswick, so you're not committed to that, or you're actually expanding out, which is great. It must give you more options.
Yes. Oh, as far as our physical location, our administrative area and all of that, but we serve the whole state of Maine as far as veterans. So our participants come in from all over. Just, let's see, coming up this Thursday, we have a veteran coming in from Caribou.
Yeah.
For another class.
Right. So we want folks to know that. We want to stress that. Anywhere you live in the state of Maine, reach out to these folks. And so you saying earlier that somebody comes from Vermont.
Yeah, we had a veteran that came in last class from Vermont.
Yeah.
We have some that are coming this class from New Hampshire. So, we've been serving, traditionally we've been serving just here in the state of Maine, but then we have a couple others that are coming in from other areas. And like I said, they're coming in from Caribou. We've had several veterans that have come in from that area.
That's commitment right
there.
It
is. It really
wonderful.
is. And it's just fantastic, what happens in their journey. So like I said, the training journey is about 5 to 6 months.
Right.
They go through 4 different training phases. We go over basic care and basic training. And then we go into the Canine Good Citizen, the American Kennel Club's Canine Good Citizen, which is pretty standard and everybody's familiar with it. And then we get into public access, and that's where it gets fun. We get to go out on some field trips. We go to LL Bean, we go to a local restaurant, we go to the big box stores as well, and we practice there. And then we get into special task training, which going back to the deep pressure exercise or the placeholders that we talked about earlier.
Right. So probably, I'm going to guess, not all dogs are suitable for one reason or another. What's your average success rate? Do you happen to know?
Well, what we do is as far as when we start our teams, normally that's going to be successful because we've evaluated the dog prior to the team actually starting. So if we have, for example, a group that we start with, if we start with 10 teams, you might have a veteran and their, or a team fall out because of maybe a medical event that has taken them out, or a life-changing event. But we have, over a 75% success rate as far as what we're starting with and what we're ending with as far as our teams. But when we talk about dogs that wouldn't be appropriate for the program, would be dogs that would show or display any type of aggression, whether it's territorial aggression, fear aggression, anything like that, aggression towards other dogs, humans, of course.
Right.
Yeah, those type of things.
To no fault of their own. It's just the way things shake down.
Yeah. It's just not going to be that
Doesn't mean it's a bad dog either.
No,
I mean,
that's right.
Understand completely. Yeah, that's great.
But it would just be too much for one of to expect the dog to be able to go through. That dog would need more behavioral management training prior to anything that we could offer them.
Right. So let's say 6 months down the road, veteran, a companion, everything's working great. You guys just cut them loose?
No, we don't.
Yeah, what happens?
Oh, that would be terrible.
What happens down the road?
Okay, so what happens down the road is they get to come to refresher training courses.
Yeah.
So we offer those monthly, the third Thursday of every month. We get together. We just had one last Thursday, and it's wonderful. We just kind of check in, see how things are going. This last week, what I did is I brought some agility equipment just to create some boredom busters. Oh, we ran through the tunnels. We jumped over some hurdles. Things like that.
That's good enrichment
it
activities.
It is. Isn't that great?
For both animal and people,
yes,
right?
You should have seen those veterans jumping over those hurdles.
I couldn't see it right now. You're setting a good example, of course.
Right, because we all had to jump first.
Right. Show the dogs how to do it.
That's right.
So say somebody contacts you, a veteran contacts you, and they say, well, I got this super dog. It's already trained. It's got all of these abilities and all this. Is that something that you can incorporate into?
We still have them go through the application process and the background check, those things, we want to do. And if they have that dog, then we do the evaluation. So a lot of the steps
you would
are still
normally
there.
do, everything
we do,
you do.
yeah. Yep. So we still have them do that. They get into the program. And sometimes we've had that happen. And the dog will perform, I will say, the dog will perform fabulous in their home environment.
Right.
But not always as well in a distracting environment.
Yeah.
And so that veteran says, oh, I guess we need to polish up on some things.
Right.
Sure.
And
no
you'll
problem.
help facilitate all of that?
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Again, they have to have that service-connected PTSD diagnosis. When we have their therapist referral letter as well that we require. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that we do ask them to have their support system in place. And that could be a spouse, that could be a friend of the family, but that there's somebody else that they can depend on in the event that something was to happen to them. And they need emergency contact for their dog. So we look out for the veteran's well-being and also the dog, because it's a team and we treat it as such.
Yeah. So somebody's watching at home, they're thinking about this, and we would encourage anyone, any veterans at home that may think that you can benefit from this program, you need to contact them.
Yes.
Say they're sitting at home and they've got 2 cats, a gerbil, and a bearded lizard over there. Can they still get involved?
Well, so what we do is we take that application that I spoke of earlier, which we have right on the website. So go right to the program section, and you can check out that check out that application. We do take all other animals into consideration. Now, if they have their own dog, we can evaluate their own dog. So that's kind of an easy one. If they don't have their own dog and they're looking for us to adopt and pair a dog with them, we do want to make sure that a dog would be compatible with their current animals in the household. And in some cases, they have a cat. In other cases, they might have a senior dog. So we can usually find a dog that's going to fit those environments. However, somebody has 3 dogs, 4 dogs, things like that already. We're a little reluctant to put an additional dog and put that type of burden on.
Right.
So, we do take every application and look through those thoroughly and go through that with them.
Right. Now, how about younglings at home? They got We got 4
Yeah.
kids at home, and
Excuse me. Yes, so we do look at, as far as the little kids at home, we like to say 8 and up as far as children. If we're working with a rescue, again, if a veteran has their own dog and they have children at home, that's their own dog. That
Right.
the kids are already adapted to the dog, and the dog
Right.
has adapted to the children.
right. Yeah, that's
So
that's
that-
wonderful. So
yeah.
you take every case; it's case by case.
It
and-
really is case by
There's no
case.
blanket disqualification
no,
in any way.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
So we don't want to discourage anyone.
No, not at
Right.
all. We want
Reach
to
out.
encourage people to reach
Right.
out, ask the questions, look at the application, work with your therapist as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can help too if the application was a little bit, complex they felt or anything like that, or
Mm-hmm.
the steps to go through. So we definitely have, support people that can help them with that.
Right. So I could only imagine there's costs related to this.
Well, not for the veteran, So this program is
we'll say
no
that again.
charge,
There is
no
no cost
cost
for
for
the
the veteran at all.
Right.
We are supported by individuals, donors, and corporate sponsorships as well.
Yeah.
So we are very fortunate to have, we have grants, of course, private grants that come in, corporate grants as well. So we're very fortunate to have that in place. So there's no expense to the veteran whatsoever.
Now, how about breeds of dogs? Is there any preferences on?
Well, we go back to the retrievers. They're highly intelligent. They're willing to work. But then again, there's other breeds that we work with that are just as fabulous.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that they all have to. And of course, when we're working with the shelters, we're working with mixed breeds.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always know what that Heinz 57 is, but boy, if the trainability is there and that human rapport that they may have.
Right. Right.
It's a shoo-in. It's
Right.
a wonderful thing. Then
Yeah.
we say, this is great.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if both ears are up or both ears are down. It doesn't matter if they have spots.
Right.
The trainability is there. The dog has to have heart.
Yeah, and I think it's an important point too, working in a shelter environment myself. There's folks out there that may think that because they're in a shelter, they're defective in some
Yeah.
way or something.
Yeah.
Anything could be farther from the truth. It's
Exactly.
just not
Exactly.
the case.
No,
most.
it's not. And keeping in mind, here in the state of Maine, we do out-of-state transports all the time. So
Right.
we're bringing these dogs in and helping them because we don't have the stray dog population here in the state of Maine, as you know. So we bring these dogs in from out of state and give them a second chance. And, they deserve it.
Yeah, we're definitely one of the leading states for bringing dogs in. It's quite an accomplishment
Yes,
when
it
you
is.
look at the history
Yeah.
of that. In comparison, I compare when I first got into the animal control business, there really wasn't a lot of help for cats out there. Just in
Right.
contrast.
Yes.
Boy, that's come so far
It
today.
certainly
It's
has.
amazing what's
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
So the same thing with dogs. It's
Yeah.
very proud to be up in this part of the country and
Yeah.
saving a lot of lives up
We
here.
are.
Yeah.
We are. Well, the human life and the canine life, goes hand in hand for us, and we want to make a difference for both. Our veterans, as I mentioned earlier, they have to have that PTSD, service-connected diagnosis, and that's kind of like that first step of them coming in, and they realize they want to make a difference in their own lives. They want something else. They want that second chance, like that shelter dog. And in many cases, they start to relate with the dog.
Right.
So
Right. You mentioned earlier the support system for them. Now, does that tie in with who has the ability to care for a service animal?
That's a great question. Right, you want to make sure that our veterans are physically able to take care of the dog. It's okay if they have a family member or a friend that helps them with some, we'll say, day-to-day activities with the dog in some way. For example, they might have a group that they volunteer for, or a doctor's appointment that they have to go to before the dog is certified, that a family member or friend is assisting with keeping an eye on the dog or getting the dog out for the potty break or things like that. So that's important to have. But they need to be able to they need to be able to take care of their dog, both physically and also too financially, So, and that just means your annual things, whether it's the annual wellness check for the dog or it's their food, So just the basic needs as far as financial expense, that's something that we want them to be mindful about. our annual vaccines that we get done on the dog and things like that. The dogs that we place with our veterans, of course, are already spayed or neutered, so they don't have to worry about it, and they're fully vetted,
Is that required if someone had their own dog?
Yes, we would, yeah.
And that makes sense to me, too.
Yeah. Otherwise, it can be a little problematic coming
Yeah.
in and, all the nonsense that can go on with that.
Right. Now, you talked a little bit ago about going to camp and different things you do. Can you explain more activities before in the training process?
Yes. So what we do is we do a lot of the field trips. So we'll go out and we'll, like I said, we'll go to LL Beans for a field trip there. They've been very supportive of allowing us to bring the dogs in, or we might go to a sandwich shop or a cafe and practice there as well, or even. We've gone to, of course, Home Depot or Lowe's or places like that, and they
common places, really. You see this a lot.
Exactly. But we give them a call, a heads up. Hey, we're coming in, and they're like, great, bring the dogs. They love to see us all come through.
Yeah, that's a great place too, because you got bells and whistles in there, and alarms, and things going up and down, around, and a lot of distractions.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard for our veterans, keeping in mind the majority of them would rather not go into those places. So this is a huge personal growth for the veteran, so we focus on, again, keeping them safe with, in our groups and or allowing them to feel that they're safe there, and we have their back. It's time for us to show them that we have their back. They've served. They've already, put their name on the dotted line.
So they're climbing a mountain, so to speak. Who knows really what's going on in there?
Exactly.
In their mind.
And you have to be mindful of that. You have to go in. I'm fortunate that I have that experience with my own father. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he had served 2 tours. And I lost him a few years ago. And after losing my father, I wanted to throw myself into something. So I then looked, for the right fit for me. And working with these veterans is a perfect fit.
Yeah.
So I knew when all of a sudden I saw that job description, I thought, sounds like it was written for me. I want to work with these vets, and I want to make a difference in their lives. So when we go through, it could be the mall with all the teams, it could be Home Depot, or go to the restaurant. Sometimes we're at a restaurant, and we have, it could be up to a dozen teams underneath all the tables. And wait staff might walk in and have no idea we even have a dog.
That's impressive right there.
You have all of those dogs.
You must feel accomplished.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, wow.
And not just me, though. They feel accomplished. Look what they've done. And you have our alumni coming back and now being instructors as well. And they have already gone through the program, feel that accomplishment, and now they're able to give back. So
wow,
that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, that's true. And again, no charge to the participants in this. You're taking care of this,
Yep, absolutely. No charge to the participants, and we just want them to come in and be able to have the best experience they possibly can. In training with their own dog, to transition that dog from either a family pet or a shelter dog into a PTSD service dog for them.
Right. Yeah. Say someone signed up, well, how long could they anticipate before they could get a dog? Is it?
Yep, that's a great question. Yeah. So, for example, if somebody signed up tomorrow, our classes are in full swing for this year. So it would be, we run classes spring to fall. So we would say to them, we're taking applications for next spring.
Oh, so that gives them.
It gives them
good understanding of what
absolutely.
Right.
And what happens is, if we start the class in the spring, that means in late winter, we're actually starting to work with them with all of their stuff, So maybe you could say a 6-month wait, but it doesn't mean we wouldn't be in contact before that.
Now, typically I ask guests on the show, what's the greatest challenge in what they do? And I don't know, maybe there's a great challenge for you. It seems like this isn't work to you.
It's not work to me.
At least it appears to me.
Right,
anyway.
Yeah, you're right, Bobby.
Yeah.
It's not work for me. It's a passion, and I absolutely love it. Probably my greatest challenge is that memory, and I always get emotional about my father when I talk about them.
Sure.
And my my work family knows that, and they willingly, they've adopted me and with all of my own issues that way. My father's birthday is coming up this week. It'll be on Thursday. And he would have been 72, so he passed away when he was 66. So as far as my biggest challenge, however, it's the biggest reward as well, is working this program in the memory of my father. But it's also the biggest reward I could ever have in my life.
Well, you pretty much answered my follow-up question, which typically is, what's the greatest reward you get? So you've done that. That's wonderful. It's amazing.
I see these veterans, and they just have turned their lives around.
Yeah. Sounds like you get a tremendous amount of therapeutic value out of this.
I do.
Free. I mean, it's
I do. Can you imagine?
Part of the package,
It
right?
is. They're just wonderful. They
Right.
make such a difference in my life. Even last Thursday, we did the agility jumps, and we had a blast, and we laughed, and we enjoyed. And I thought to myself, my gosh, that was the best working day ever.
Right. And I'm trying to imagine this, because on the website, it's great. I mean, there was a Pomeranian.
Yes.
You know,
yes,
there was a
yes.
golden, there was a Frenchie. There was,
Yep.
By the way, we're going to have, our next guest is going to be, we're going to have a Frenchie on, Louis.
Yes.
Along with Sabrina. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll have Sabrina and Louis on. But looking at the pictures, I was just so inspired by that. I'm like, you know, it's not that typical, and I don't know if can is the right word, but the typical mode of a service dog. And I'm
Right,
looking at this and
right.
going, wow, who would have thought that? It's
Yeah.
quite amazing.
When they, especially like in Sabrina's case, she came in with her own little Frenchie, and then the Pomeranian was owned by a veteran who actually, and I did bring our brochure so that I could leave a few of those, but that little Pomeranian is also on the back here. So this is George, and that's his little Pomeranian, Lucky. So Lucky passed away this winter.
Oh, jeez.
So recently, George has rejoined our program, and by gosh, do you know, we found him another Pomeranian right at the Animal Refuge League. So we adopted this a little redheaded girlfriend for him, and her name is Gracie. So here we are. Not only did we make a difference in George's life a few years ago, and in some cases the dog passes away. And so then what happens? So then they come back. And then we start all over, and that's okay. So we've, you know, he said, I want a Pomeranian, and I thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to be able to find this veteran a Pomeranian. What are the chances? And here we are. We have recently paired him with a Pomeranian.
Right. And the dog probably originated from...
She came in from, they had shared, the Animal Refuge League shared that she came in from an Amish breeder in Pennsylvania because it was an out-of-state.
She's a puppy mill dog.
Yes.
Well, that's amazing that you
So-
can take a puppy mill dog
Yes,
and do that.
yeah.
'Cause
So
that's
she has
typically not the case. Those
she has
dogs-
a few little quirks,
Yeah.
but you know what? George has the patience of a saint, and
So-
he's willing to work that.
So Gracie's in training now?
Yes, with
Oh,
George,
oh.
and George is 82 years young. You know, so, and he lives alone, so he has all of this time to dedicate to this little this little dog. And you know, dog training itself has evolved. You know how it is.
Yeah, right.
We've thank goodness we evolved, you know, beyond what we were doing in the 60s and 70s. And so we have all of these really great tricks in our toolbox that we can, you know, pull out and say, let's try this with her, you know. So we can do that today, and we can teach our veterans how to modify something to encourage the dog to do some type of exercise.
Well, through the miracle of the internet,
Yes.
the program is seen all over the place, and I'm sure there's folks that watch this that maybe aren't veterans, that may not participate, but they want to contribute. Donating, what's the best way for them to donate?
Thank you. Well, there's many ways that folks can donate. They can go right to the website, and we have our donate button right on there. You'll see that gold button, and we appreciate any support that way. Also, too, of course, as we talked earlier, people can contribute their time and talents through volunteerism. Well, that's very important to us. The other thing that I want to mention, and I think I did earlier, as far as we do have a newsletter that will be coming out, and we are creating what's called the Joy Fund. So we'll be, you know, that'll be a way that somebody could contribute, especially those individuals that do have ties to Joy Johnson, our founder. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that we have we've said, now that we've all been through the pandemic and this crazy year, we have reset our date for our annual benefit dinner, and that will be for May 14th of 2022. And so that'll be at the location.
A little under a year from now.
Yes, about a year from now, but it's always nice to get the word out.
Yeah, it'll go fast.
It does, and you have to start a year ahead for anything big like that.
Yeah.
So that'll be a way for people to contribute as well.
Do you have any preliminary plans on that, where it'll be or anything?
We do. As far as the location, we'll be at 675 Old Portland Road, because there is an event center right there on site, and that's right where our office is. So it's kind of like the one-stop shop. So we're very
hummingbirds watching out.
Exactly.
For helping you. Yeah.
Yes.
But before we leave, is there anything that sticks out? Would you like to say? You want to say something to the folks out there?
Sure. I would just like to say to any veterans that are out there, please look at the website and fill out that application. And if this is something that you do have a service-connected PTSD diagnosis, please make that step. You know, maybe there's some way that we can assist you through this process. And I want to thank all of our donors and our supporters out there. To our volunteers. Our volunteers make all the difference, and our board of directors.
So I just say to the viewers out there, don't hesitate to donate. And not only, if it's a veteran watching, if you know a veteran,
yes,
pass the word on.
Absolutely. And a lot of people can find our information, our brochures, over whether you go to a vet center or at the VA. Of course, you can go online. We're on social media as well. Again, Maine Paws for Veterans. You can go right to our social media page. So there's always some great information in there. And we do send out, like I mentioned earlier, we do send out our newsletter,
Reveille?
Yep, the Reveille goes out, and that will be, the new edition will be going out in about a month or so. And so that's when people can look at the Joy Fund, and they can read a little bit about Joy, our founder. So that'll be fantastic too.
Outstanding.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
And we have with us right now Sabrina Bagani. Is that how you pronounce that? Yeah. You have hooked up with Maine Paws for Veterans.
Yes.
And you've got Louie over here. I think I have to say, first off, how inspiring this whole program is. I stumbled onto this program via social media a couple years ago, I think it was, and I've been following you folks, and I'm just incredibly impressed with what happens. Number one, how often do you see a Frenchie as a service dog?
Yep.
And some of the other dogs on there, some of the other clients have, it's pretty eclectic with dogs. Typically, I think, for me anyway, traditionally when someone says service dog, I think of a black lab or a yellow lab or something in that range. Just, I don't know why, but that's what pops into my mind. But when I'm looking at the website, I was just impressed. How do you feel about that with all the different dogs that they've got there? Now here you are with Louie.
Right. So you see a lot of the bigger dogs, as service animals because they provide a lot of physical assistance, like turning on light switches or, going and retrieving things and things like that. And that is a type of service animal. But what Maine Paws for Veterans provides is like a psychiatric service animal, right? So more for PTSD, TBI, traumatic brain injury issues, things like that. So they provide something a little bit different than the typical physical help service dog. So that's why you see all the different shapes and sizes because they're doing a little bit of a different job than some of what you're used to seeing. So. Yeah,
and they're not sourced, if that's the right word. You don't source these dogs from typical, say, service dog channels.
Yep.
Tell us about how you folks get these dogs.
A lot of the service animals, some of the service animals are as long as after evaluation, are from the veteran's home. Some animal that they just got or has been in their family for a couple of years. Usually they're between ages 1 and 3. But a lot of the times we help place animals with a veteran, and most of the time they're all rescue animals. Yep, like 95% of the time, all rescue animals. So it's been so great to see these animals come in that have been in pretty terrible situations, and to see them placed with these veterans and just to see that team evolve between the two of them is really, really wonderful. So yeah, they come from all over. all these different situations for these rescue animals.
Right. Now, how did you get matched up with Louie?
Louie happened to come into my life unexpectedly. I had been accepted into the program. I'm a disabled veteran, and I applied for the Maine Paws for Veterans program to help me with my needs. And I, thought I would be placed with an animal that the program would help me with. And then all of a sudden, right place, right time, a lady needed to rehome Louie. And so he came to my home, and we met, and I don't know, there was an instant bond with me and him. He was 1 at the time, so we had some.
How long have you been together?
Yeah, he's 2.5 now.
So you've been together a year and a half, roughly?
Yep, 2.5 now.
Right.
He had some manner issues and things like that, and I thought, when I applied for the program and when I requested that I use Louie after I got Louie instead of being placed with another dog, I would probably just get laughed at because he's not your typical, right? Like you said, you see all these different shapes, so he's not your typical, you think, service dog, but he's passed with flying colors. He's so great, and he has helped me so much. I'm so thankful for him.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe at times hard to find the words to say how much, who rescues who in these
Right.
types of situations, and probably help you get over some.
Yeah, he really has. It came just meant to be one of those situations. He came into my life right at the right moment, and he's perfect. Yeah, he's been so great, and now we're able to, after I've gone through the program, I just fell in love with the whole process and the community that it provides with the veterans, and just seeing the change in the veterans and the animal. And once the veteran goes through the training process with their service dog, that's not where it ends. Maine Paws for Veterans, we constantly keep in touch with the veterans even after their training is done. We have refresher classes. If they're having a bad day, they reach out. If, let's say, something happens to their service animal, we help them and get them back in the program. I don't know. It's not just a service dog training program. It's I don't know. It's like a family. It's really amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. We were talking a little bit ago about the founder of this and
Yes.
what their dream was, their passion, and how this all come about.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than
Yeah.
that. And I think really the PTSD part of it, the suicide part of it, it's really powerful stuff. And it's just so inspiring to see that, because there should be these resources out there. So it's nice that Maine Paws for Veterans
Yeah.
offers that. Do you have any idea how many clients or?
Like veterans that
Yeah,
we've helped.
how many veterans you have
It's
in-
been, the program's been going on for a few years now. I was in last year's program. Each class is between, I think between 10 and 15 veterans. We have we started a class in April. We have about 10 veterans. We're starting another one in May. It's a 4 or 5 month long process. We meet together once a week. Some veterans drive from 4 hours away. Some are close by.
So it's that important to them.
Yeah.
That's great that they're able to plug into something and really feel
Yeah.
purpose. I don't know if I
Yeah.
don't want to speak out of line, but
No, not at all. So, people ask, well, what services do these dogs provide? If they're not like turning on light switches, or the ones that aren't tall enough to do things. For me, veterans deal with so many different things. Well, like for me, I have sensory issues from TBI. So he provides me with that alternate focus. So when I'm in like overwhelming environments, just the tactile stimulation of him, kind of like grounds me. I also, and a lot of people with brain trauma have what's called disassociation episodes, where you kind of like zone out. You could, just kind of lose track of time and thought, and you're just kind of not really there. And what Louie does for me, I can feel him on the end of that leash, right? So I'm always mindful of where I am, because I can feel him, and I'm always kind of just aware of where he is, and we're like a team. So now when I'm out by myself and he's with me, My errands go much quicker because I'm not like zoning out or walking through the aisles like aimlessly and just kind of zoned out. He just kind of keeps me in the moment, which is really, really important, which eases my anxiety too. And for a lot of other veterans, it helps integrate them back in the community. There's a lot of reclusiveness, they don't get out of the house. So it gets the veteran outside. It gives them purpose. They have to get up. They have to feed them and bathe them. Something more than, so gets them out into the community, and there's other things like, veterans that are startled easily, from any sort of trauma they've had. We teach the dogs exercises that will provide that barrier around the veteran, to kind of alert them of anybody else's presence, not in a negative way, but, just like a nudge on the veteran, just to kind of be like, hey, someone's coming up behind you, things like that. So there's exercises that the dogs learn.
Well, it sounds to me, and I think this is common in everyday life as well. It's not necessarily the dog that's being trained, the human.
Yes.
It's being,
Yeah.
So there's some cross-training going on here.
Yeah.
So this is quite a learning
Yeah.
curve for everyone, all the veterans, to do this as well.
Yeah.
Which probably gives that purpose too, gives them goals to set and
Definitely.
to concentrate. It's not only about pets here or about service dogs. There's a lot more that the organization does. I was reading some stuff online. It was
Yeah.
pretty impressive. It's
Yeah.
not just that. There's a lot more to this.
So much more. Yeah, we are there for you. Like, once you become part of the program, you're part of the family. So if you're going through a hard time, we're there for you. If you need support in any way, we're there for you. If you even though you're done of your training and you want to, come to a class, or we're there. And then you also it creates community. So you bond with the other veterans that are struggling with maybe some of the same things that you're struggling with, right? So you're not required to talk about any of your stuff at class. Like we don't, but if you want to talk about it, we're there to talk about it with you.
And chances are maybe there's somebody you're talking to that can relate directly
Yep, and
as
usually,
been,
yeah.
which is probably just huge.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
who do you talk to, the average person that may
Yeah.
begin to understand?
It's hard because a lot of these disabilities that the veteran struggles with are invisible. There's a lot of things that you don't see. You don't know what someone's struggling with, on a day-to-day basis, with the head trauma and PTSD and even some, physical stuff where, which ends up causing anxiety and depression, So, your service animal they're just so therapeutic, and they're therapeutic for anybody, veteran, not veteran. Animals are just amazing.
I think that's critical. And a lot of times we don't realize the therapeutic value
Yeah.
of having that animal around.
Yeah. It's amazing. it's just like the tactile kind of stimulation of touching the animal, just it releases almost like these endorphins get released, it's so we have some veterans that are able to come off medications,
Wow.
right? Because they're
Wow.
getting that, chemical, their transmitter, things are firing a little bit differently because you're getting those feel-good chemicals from your service animal, and just so it makes such a huge difference. And being social again, things like that. It was hard for me to talk to people for a while after I had a head injury and be social and things like that. So it's like he's helped me kind of converse again, and more you get more comfortable with it and things like that.
So when you're out in public a lot, of course, service dogs are allowed anywhere the public
Sure.
is. Therapy animals or emotional support animals.
Yeah.
It's different.
There is a difference. Emotional support animals, obviously, so great, because like we talked about how therapeutic they are. They are not required to have any form of training, So I think individuals need a note from their doctor saying that would be best for them, but they're not required any special training, right? So emotional support animals that you bring into a store, they might not behave well, or things like that, and then
It's not just, but it's not just a dog. Someone could have a bearded lizard and say it's an
Yeah.
emotional support animal.
Yeah,
Could they
I
not?
think airlines are kind of cracking down on that a little bit more
Yeah.
now. So no more peacocks and ponies on the planes.
Right. So it's a lot different. We're not
Yeah.
just talking dog.
Right, and it makes it harder. Sometimes it makes it difficult if you don't have a trained animal and you're bringing it into a public place. It makes it a little bit harder for the ones who do have the trained animal, who are the service dogs, to go into a public place. Where the untrained animal will kind of act out, or there might be some aggression, things like that. And that makes it harder for the ones that are, true working dogs. There's a difference. You can tell the difference
Sure.
between, how the animals behave out in public. And it's important. You can't have the animals, you go into the bathroom in the store, which happens a lot, or sitting in the car.
Yeah, and that's a red flag automatically. That kind of
Right,
tells you it's not a service animal.
Right. So, those are things to look for. Is the animal walking alongside their handler, in a well-behaved manner? Are they yanking or pulling anywhere? Are they barking? If it depends. If they're making a noise because they're trying to alert their handler of like a medical situation, that's different. But if they're acting aggressive towards other animals. So those are some things that are concerns. And so through the training program, the animals learn how to behave in public. We do have tests in the program, so we do the Canine Good Citizenship test.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Partway through the program, and also we do a public access test. We'll go to LL Bean for like a field trip, and we'll really put the dogs through those tests. Some pre-tests, and so by the end of the training, we make sure that they're going to act appropriately in public, help the handler, and behave.
So maybe the message here is, don't misrepresent the animal. Emotional support animals, very important.
Yes.
Critical to that individual that has them.
Yes.
But let's not misrepresent it
Right.
to the public.
Yes.
Because then that starts to build the stigma about.
And that's true because, he's not your typical service animal, right? Like
Right.
we talked about before. So sometimes, I'll get looks like, well, what can he do for you? Or things like that.
Right.
Or he's just
Right.
a French bulldog, or
Right.
maybe I'm not being honest, is he really a
Right.
service dog? Is she just trying to
Right.
get him in public,
Right.
And that causes a little anxiety in me. It does. Like
Now all of a sudden you got to prove
I know,
something.
and it's not a good feeling, and I
No.
don't want other, veterans or people who need service animals to feel like that, and because
Right.
I felt it, it's not a good feeling. So, that's also a message to, even like in public places like the employees and things like that. Remember that it's not easy for a person to come in with their service animal because they know there's a stigma. So that's something us as handlers, we get a little bit nervous about. Most establishments are very, very understanding and actually really great.
The businesses themselves.
Businesses, yeah.
Right.
I've had no major experiences. There's a little bit now and then I kind of feel like, I don't think they believe me,
Right,
so,
right.
yeah. But as more and more people get educated
And
about it.
I don't know if you can hear Louis. He seems to be resting quite comfortably over
Yeah.
there. I think he's made himself right at home. Did you work him hard before you bought him here? Or?
Yeah. He had his first day in a hotel last night. So I went out of my comfort zone. It was my son's birthday, and I took him with me. So it was first day in a hotel, and so we walked in, and so he's had quite a little busy evening. At his first hotel stay
Right.
with 3 young boys, but he kept me sane, and he did really, really great. I'm so proud of him. But yeah, so he's a little sleepy today. But he is such a good boy. But he's still, he'll wake up in a second though. If he knows if I need him, he's right there.
So you guys are always working together with the organization.
Yes.
You go and meet. How often do you folks meet? Monthly?
We
or-
meet up weekly. Yep.
Weekly?
Yep.
Oh,
Right
good.
now, when we're within, when we have a class going on now, a group. So yep, we meet up every Thursday in Topsom, Brunswick area. We're right in the beginning, so the dogs aren't super well behaved yet. Some of them are just getting to know their animals still, in their new homes and things like that. So step by step, we start from the ground up.
So what do you think? It's maybe months to say from the time.
Yeah, it takes about 4 to 5 months. But training really never ends, right? That.
Right.
If you can't, if you just go through the program, they're doing great,
Right.
and then you just don't do any training exercises or things like that at home after that, you just end up with a pet again after a while, because dogs, they're little opportunists, they do like to be rewarded, now and then. They want to be trained, they want to learn new things, and he really, really loves it. When I train him teach him something new, so. Yeah.
So you made some good friends there. I'm going to take it. You've met some people, some fellow veterans. That's
Yep. I've created some great relationships. So much that I didn't want to leave. So I, wanted to volunteer for the program. Like, how can I help how can I, stay a part of this,
And now that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and
What
I
do you
find
do,
it.
what do you do now for volunteering? What's the?
So I do photography on the side, so I like to take, capture those moments between the animal and their handler, and then, and I just really fall in love with just the training aspect, and seeing the growth of the animal, the learning process, and so now I'm also a assistant trainer. So I've
Wow.
learned so much. They're all so knowledgeable there. Tracy, the director, she's amazing. And then we have some other trainers, Terry and Roy, and it's a whole team. There's a whole team, a whole board of people that have welcomed me. And I just feel like they're close friends now, and I can go to them for anything. Yep. And so I look forward to going every week. And I find that me helping and contributing back is just as therapeutic for me as just being in the program too. Again, it kind of evolved into I don't know, me finding purpose again. For me, when I came home from the service, it was quite a few years ago though, but I was in my mid-20s, and usually at that age, right, everybody's graduating college, or they're just starting their families, or they're just starting their careers, but because I was medically discharged due to some health issues and whatnot, so when I came home, what was supposed to, at that age, it should be the beginning of something, but when I got out, it almost felt like the end, So you're stuck in limbo, and it's frustrating and it's scary. And I know a lot of veterans can understand that, and you just don't kind of know where you fit.
Yeah, and this isn't, you want folks to think that you have to live in the Brunswick or Thompson area to plug into this. You was telling me earlier, you got people drive 4 hours or something?
Yep, we had, in my class last year, we had a gentleman come all the way from Vermont every week, So we'd have to leave at like 4 a.m. Our class meets at 9:30 in the morning. I think next class we have a gentleman coming down from Caribou. So, and then, we have some local ones, or just an hour. So it's all over. I know in other states, some states don't have organizations like this, so they do have to drive, and hopefully other states will adopt programs like this for veterans. It's so great.
Right. So we want to let everyone know, any veterans out there, friends of veterans,
Yeah.
families of veterans, let these veterans know. You don't have to be
Right.
nearby. Come plug in. Try to take that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that could be the hardest thing. I can't put myself in the mind of someone that needs this type of service, but I would maybe, if they're sitting at home and watching this, or watching this on a
Yeah.
laptop or something, and
Yeah.
they just need that little nudge there.
Yep.
You guys, the doors are wide open.
Yeah. We have a couple of veterans that, have never even had a dog before, and so it's very foreign to them, but, they're coming along so great, and it's working out really, really well. And, we have another veteran who, lovely woman, she didn't ever want to drive anywhere or go anywhere, but it's just so great to see the change in her. She gets out of her house, she drives herself to places in her appointments now because she has her service animal with her. So just to see the change in all these veterans, it's pretty really moving.
Very inspiring to
Yeah.
me. It's, again, we're sitting here talking, Louis snoring, everything's great, it's a wonderful world.
Yep.
It's really not that way for a lot of people, and we
Right.
want those people, hopefully, someone out there watching today can get them plugged into you. So
Yeah.
it's Maine Paws for Veterans,
Yep.
website, you got Facebook page.
Yep, website, Facebook page, just reach out. On the website, there's so many different, it tells about the program, the application process, really explains things, and if you even have any more questions, obviously there's the email and phone number.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself going, say, in the next few months? You find yourself on a clear path with Louis here?
Yeah, it's definitely given me a little bit more drive. I feel like I have, I'm very inspired, and I just to carry on with like assisting with dog training and helping veterans. I assist with some other veteran programs too, and I just say to other veterans, volunteer, get out there and volunteer. It's changed my life to volunteer for programs after I've gone through the programs myself, and then volunteer and give back. It's to have purpose is really, really great, and to feel that again is really, really great. And I know when you're in it, when you're in a low spot or, you know, confused about where your life is going, you know, and it's hard to see your way out of that, you know. So sometimes you just gotta, I mean, it's a lot of stepping out of your comfort zone, you know. So just make that step to reach out and see what these programs are about, and go to that first meeting, and just go from there. Yeah.
Right. 'Cause they're not alone. They
No.
may feel alone,
Yeah.
but they're really not.
Oh my God,
Just,
yeah.
just reach out and you guys will get them plugged in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep, there's always somebody who will understand. You know, you feel like nobody understands because you look fine from the outside, right?
Right.
But there's always somebody who understands. You just gotta look in the right spot. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So Sabrina, thank you again. And Louis, he's still snoozing. He'll bust a move here in a second. But folks, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope you found something useful in this program. If you know a veteran that would like to reach out, plug into Maine Paws for Veterans, please do so. And just want to remind everyone, if you have a question regarding animals, or if you have a suggestion for a guest on Maine-ly Animals, please shoot us an email. It's mainlyanimals@yahoo.com. And we'll see you on the next show. Thanks for joining us.